I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Woo! Our meeting is called to order. Today is July 17, 2017. The Health Masters meeting has been called to order. We are going to now look at the agenda for today. We have Antoinette Mitchell as the Toastmaster. Grammarian is Brittany Lee. Toastmaster Minute is coming from Victoria Russell. Speaker number 1 is Camille Wilder. She is here. Speaker number 2 is Charlie Simpson. He is here, or he was here just a few minutes ago. I think he's in here. Speaker number 3, Adrian Duncan. Table topics is going to be brought by Brandy Roberts. General Evaluator, Joyce Biddle is here, Evaluator 1. Gianna is here. We have Leonard Macasa, he's here. Patricia Minor, she's here. Evaluation team is here. Grammarian, Brittany Lee, present, thank you. Our counter is coming from, who's the our counter for the day? Toastmaster Jerome, all right. Timers report is going to be Shauna Meadows, and she's here. Shauna's on the timing clock, good. General Evaluator, Joyce Biddle, and then that's the end of our, no, that's the end. I brought you to the end of it. Just wanted to make sure everyone is here. Adrian.
Suggestion, now that we need to install 2 individuals,
Yes.
the Jana and Patricia.
Patricia.
I'll cancel my speech for the day.
Okay.
We'll do the induction, and that'll give us time to do our table topic. Is that appropriate?
We got time. You don't need to do that.
You sure?
As long as people do what they're supposed to do.
Let's go.
Stop doing what you're supposed
Let's
to
go.
do.
Okay, excuse me. Ms. Grammarian, Toastmaster Brittany Lee, please come forth for 1 minute of the grammar,
Victoria.
I'm sorry, for the word of the day.
You do a word of the day first.
And I'm looking at the agenda. Word of the day, Toastmaster Lee, come forward.
Good afternoon. Welcome. So I'm not sure of the outline for this, but I do have a word for the day. The word is acme. It is an adjective. It has Greek origin. The definition is the culminating point as of achievement or excellence. Synonym is summit or peak. The second definition is something or someone that represents perfection of the thing expressed.
Repeat the word again, one more time.
The word is acme. It is spelled A-C-M-E.
Acme.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome. Hold on, let me shake your hand. Thank you. Second part, I'm asking for the Toastmaster Minute to come from Victoria Russell. Victoria Russell, come on down. Her very first time giving you a hand. You're going to do well, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Toastmaster Russell.
Good morning, everyone. So my Toastmaster tip of today is be prepared. As we are new members transitioning into Toastmasters, I felt like it would be valuable to discuss on how we can be prepared in creating our speeches. When preparing a keynote speech, it is suggested to spend 10 minutes more time developing and practicing your opener than any other part of your speech. You only have seconds to make a powerful impact in the beginning of your speech, so you want to hook your audience. Toastmasters World Champions of Public Speaking are experts at creatively grabbing attention and winning over audience at the start of their speeches. Some ways they grab their attention is by using visual humor, which can be really tricky. It has to be thought-provoking and not offensive. When you think you're funny, you might not be universally understood, so you want to make sure you thoroughly think that out. Another way you can grab your audience attention is by using demonstrations, for example, using a prop. And lastly, use quotations, but make sure it's not too long and relevant to your audience. Thank you, and that's my Toastmaster Minute for today.
Good job. Mic check. 1, 2.
Oh, you've got my, right here. There we go. Thank you. Next, we will have the first speaker, Camille Wilder Harrison. Camille Wilder Harrison is going to speak to us. Harrison. Toastmaster McKeel. Camille, please come down. Thank you so very much. Your speech says, allow me to introduce myself. We're looking forward to your speech. Thank you.
Give her a big hand. Give her a big hand. Ready? Silence.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished Toastmasters and guests. This is my first speech, and I'm a little nervous, but we're going to go from there. The title of the speech is Allow Me to Introduce Myself. And so what I'll be doing is telling you a little bit about me, where I was born, where I came from, the origin of my name, as well as the things that I like to do. First up, I'll talk about where I was born. I was born, of course, here in the USA, but I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and we left there when I was around 5. So technically, Little Rock is home. I've been here over 40 years, so this is home. Now I'd like to tell you a little bit about my name. My first name is Miriam. I go by my middle name, Camille, but my first name is Miriam, and that was actually my dad's choice. He named me after the late South African singer, Miriam Makeba, and she was known as Mama Africa, and I remember that she was on a Cosby Show episode that I really liked. My middle name, which is my mom's choice, she won out. Everybody calls me Camille, and I was named after Hurricane Camille from the year that I was born. My last name is hyphenated. I chose when I got married to keep my maiden name, so it's Wilder-Hairston, and to me that helps me retain part of my identity. In other cultures, they keep their names, and so I didn't want to dismiss my husband's name, but I wanted to still show that I still belong to my original family. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about my personality. Most people say that I'm kind of bubbly. You don't see that here today, but I really am open to new experiences, meeting new people. I feel like I'm pretty optimistic. I'm a positive person. Even in the most negative situations, I try to think about it could be worse. So I try to think about the positive aspects of things. Also, I think, and from what I hear, I'm a pretty good friend. I'm a good listener. I give pretty good advice. Nobody's died yet. They're still around. So, okay. But I am a bad backseat driver. Nobody likes to ride with me. I'd like to tell you about some of the things that I like to do, some of my hobbies. My main hobby, especially this time of year, is gardening. And so I have a picture of a few of the things from my garden in the last couple of years: a watermelon, eggplant, peppers, and some of my herbs. And I like to cook from my garden, so I'm really into from garden to table. Next is the cooking. To me, food is art. It's the way that I express myself. It's the way that I show myself creatively. So when I garden and I cook, that's a way for me to express myself. That's a picture of my oyster poor boy right there. Can't get to the last slide. Another important part of my life is my family. I really, really enjoy my family, both sides. We're crazy, we're cool, we have fun, we don't get along, we get along, but I love my family. This is a picture of my paternal grandparents. So this is my granddad Cleo, my grandma Bernice, when they were about 15. So in conclusion, I've told you a little bit about me. I'm multifaceted, just like most people are. I'm not just one person in one area one way. I love to meet new people. I'm outgoing, but I'm working on learning how to speak in front of a group, so that's why I joined this organization. I can talk to you all day, but to do this is terrifying. And I've also shared a few of my interests, cooking, gardening, and spending time with my family. And the future goal that I have is to hopefully turn my love for cooking and food into a business. Thank you.
You did great. Okay. Speaker number 3. Is it speaker number 2, excuse me? Speaker number 2 is Toastmaster Charlie Simpson. His project is from the storytelling book, The Folk Tale. Let's welcome down Toastmaster Charlie Simpson.
Come on down, Charlie.
He will tell you the name of his speech. I don't want to get it wrong.
Thank you. Rumpelstiltskin. Anybody familiar with that tale? We have a few. Well, you all are in for a treat. This is one of my favorites. So, once upon a time, in this village far, far away. You know what? This is a much older audience. Let's get rid of that one. Let me give you the 21st century version. So there was this lady that lived in this town, was so dirt poor that she barely could buy clothes to put on her back. And she loved this princess that stayed in the village next door. And she always dreamed about being with him, but knew that he was way out of her league. This girl had a dad that bragged a lot. And he bragged about everything from her cooking to her cleaning. But then one day, he went a little bit above his head. And in a group of guys, he started talking about his daughter being able to spin straw into gold. Well, one of the king's serpents heard this and ran back to the king and said, "Hey, king, I've heard that there's this woman in the village that can spin straw into gold. We got to go get her." The king says, "Bring her here at once." So this serpent runs, grabs this young lady, brings her back to the king, and introduces her to her. And he says, "Hey, I heard you can spin straw into gold. I need you to do that for me." So he grabbed this woman, take her to this dungeon, throws her into this dungeon, and he says, "You have all this straw. I need you to spin into gold. And if you don't, I'll kill you." So he slams the door and leaves, and she starts crying and boo-hooing. She knows she can't do this task. And then all of a sudden, this ugly-looking elf pops up out of nowhere. She's wondering, and she's startled. She looks at this elf and says, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "I hear that you're crying. What are you crying about?" So she goes on to explain, "I'm in this dungeon. This king said I must turn this straw into gold or he'll kill me." And he says, "I can help you with that, but it's going to cost you." What you got? And so she looks and she says, "I don't have anything but this necklace. It's not very valuable, but I'll give it to you if you can help me." So he rips it off her neck and says, "It isn't very valuable, but I'll take it anyway." And he tells her to move out the way. "I'm going to start my job spinning this straw into gold." So all night he's spinning this straw into gold. And then the very next morning, all the straw is gold. The king comes in and he opens up the door and says, "What? All this gold." Then he says, "Hey, you know what? If you can do it this time, then you can do it another time. So come with me." He takes this young lady to a bigger room with more straw, and he tells her to spin this into gold. Slams the door to the dungeon, walks out. The young lady starts crying again. And all of a sudden, the ugly-looking elf reappears again, and he says, "What's wrong?" She says, "I have to spin this straw into gold, or this king will kill me." He said, "I can help you, but it's going to cost you." "What you got this time?" She looks at him and she says, "I have this ring. My mother gave it to me. I don't want to give it to you, but this is the least I can do." He takes the ring, says, "I'll take it," move out the way, and he starts spinning the straw into gold. Next morning, King comes, opens up the room, looks at all the gold and says, what? If you can do it this time, then come with me. We're going to a much bigger room. He opens the door and straw everywhere. He says, your job is to turn this into gold, but I'm not going to kill you if you don't do it. If you're able to do it, you can marry my son, the prince. He slams the door and says, get to work. She starts walking around the dungeon looking for the elf, and she can't find him. All of a sudden he pops up. I don't know why this thing just keep popping up, but that's how the story said. I see that you're crying. How can I help you? I need you to spin this straw into gold. He looks at her. He said, it's going to cost you. She says, I don't have anything else. But if I'm able to do it, I'll be able to marry the prince, and I'll be able to get you anything you want. And the ugly-looking elf said, you know what? If you marry the prince, you got to give me your firstborn child. She says, what? But she has no choice. Okay, I'll do it. Just start spinning the straw into gold. He tells her to get back, spins the whole room, straw into gold. King come back in, opens up the door, looks at all the gold, and he says, what? There you go. And then he says, hey, prince, meet your new princess. They get married, they have their honeymoon, they get pregnant, and 9 months later, they get a baby. So she's attaching to the baby. They're going out and playing as a happy family, and she forgot about the ugly-looking elf that all of a sudden reappears out of nowhere. Hey, you remember our agreement, he says? She said, yes, but this is my baby. I can't turn this over to you. No, I can't. He said, we had an agreement. Hand him over. She said, is there anything else? He said, you have 3 days to say my name. 3 days. And if you can get my name and you can say it, you can keep that baby. And so she starts naming names. Is it Matthew? And she said, no. Is it Mark? No. Is it Luke? No. Is it John? No. He said, I'll come back and you can try it again. So he comes back the next day. And she goes to naming. Is it Adrian? Nope. Is it Leonard? No. Nope. Nope. She just keep trying. She messes up. She called her crew in to say, hey, there's this ugly looking elf. I need you to go and I need you to get his name. If you don't, I'm going to lose my baby. So they go out and they look for the elf. They come back. I can't find it. The elf pops up the second day and says, what's my name? She starts naming again. Is it Edward? Nope. Is it Marcus? Nope. Is it Kente? Nope. Keep guessing. Don't remember it. He goes off. You say, you have your last day. And if you don't get my name, I'm taking your baby. So she's crying. She goes out and she says, you know what? I'm going to look for this ugly looking thing on my own to see if I can get some information. And she runs across this big tree. Huge. And she looks in the hole and there's this group of elves that are dancing and having a party. And that one elf is in there having a party right with him. And he just dancing. And they in there just getting it. And he's just saying, my name is Rumpelstiltskin. My name is Rumpelstiltskin. My name is Rumpelstiltskin. And she says, what? So she hurried back to the castle. And then she waits for the elf. The ugly looking elf comes. And he says, last day, what's my name? And she said, well, is it Henry? He said, nope. She said, is it Lucas? Nope. You got one more shot and the baby is mine. She looks at him and she says, Rumpelstiltskin. And he looks and he says, what? How you get my name? And he gets mad and he starts having his little hissy fit. And then he stomps real hard and puts this hole in the ground. And he falls in this hole and he disappears for the rest of the story. And the queen, the princess, and the prince lived happily ever after. Wait a minute, this is the 21st century, so they don't live happily ever after. She cheats on him, and they end up going into this custody battle, and then there's big custody battle over the, no, I'm just playing, the Toastmaster.
Very interesting.
Thank you, everyone, and that concludes the table topics.
Next, we will have the general evaluation section of our meeting brought to us by DTM, our VP, past VPE officer, and distinguished Toastmaster Joyce Biddle. Come on up. One who wears many hats. I was short.
All right. We're moving into our evaluation portion where we see how well we have conducted our meeting today. I haven't been general evaluator in a while because I've been trying to do everything else.
Thank you.
But luckily Jenna's back and she can take over as his VPE. But moving on, our first evaluator today will be Jonna Jacobs as she evaluates Camille on her icebreaker.
Welcome back, Toastmaster Joanna.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did not have time to preload a picture of my daughter, so you could all ooh and ah at how delightful she is. But it's good to be back in the swing of things. And I was very pleased to come back and hear that Camille was going to be giving her icebreaker because I hadn't really had too much of an opportunity to interact with her before. We exchanged a couple of emails, and she did exactly what I told her to do, so that's perfect. I need more people in my life like that. No, but she really did a great job. She stayed on a very direct organizational structure that she had set out for herself with a very clear introduction, very clear body, and a very clear conclusion. She added some points in there that are new and different to me, like the origin of her name. She explained about her hobbies. I loved the use of the PowerPoint to let us sort of linger on those visual aids while she spoke, so we didn't feel like we had to hone in on every single word she was saying. We could look at the screen and follow along that way. What could she have done differently? I think this was a great start for Camille, and I'm confident that you're only going to progress from here. If I had to concentrate on one thing, you're always supposed to give some piece of critical advice. Speak a little bit more loudly and with a little bit more confidence and a little bit more body language to get your points across. Make a little more eye contact with your audience. And, of course, always try not to use those crutch words. We all struggle with it. So I'm not picking on you, so all you have to do is listen for Adrian's ring, and you know you've got one. Otherwise, I think you did a great point. You did a great presentation. Very good, very good.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to train our timer back here. Our second evaluator will be none other than Toastmaster Leonard Mukasa, who will be evaluating Charlie on Rumpelstiltskin.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Joyce Biddle. Charlie, the acme of folktale. I was scared. And I was born and raised in Uganda. I thought Charlie was going to dig into this folktale I had no idea about. Thank you. I was at peace once upon a time, and everything unraveled. I didn't get lost. That's a big deal. You would lose me. I mean, I just came here the other day. This was entertaining and enjoyable. and were challenged by the age limit. My last born is 21 years old. I think I did fit. It will send me to sleep. Wonderful story. Entertainment and enjoyable to this specific age group. I don't know how it would be better with the 12-year-olds. One thing I would want to see in improving this story would be the vocal variety. I think the princess didn't quite come out like the king and the elf. Bring out that prince and her dreams. Be careful what you pray for. And what is precious will cost you. Those are the moral points in the story, Charlie. They are going to stick. I want to see you tell us more folk tales. I miss them. I could rattle some in Uganda, but you would not follow me. Tell us more. Life is wonderful with stories, and this is one of the best stories I ever had. Thank you very much. We look forward to more stories. Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster Joyce Bitter. Thank you.
Our third evaluator will be none other than our secretary, I almost said distinguished, Toastmaster Patricia Minor, as she evaluates distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Duncan.
Slow down. Adrian, what can I say? You are the distinguished Toastmaster. There's not much to say. Very good job. Job well done. I thoroughly enjoyed your speech. I think it was relevant to the occasion. I thought it was a good speech to use in conjunction with our word of the day, acme. It was you brought a point home, and it's a high point. Basically, and the analogy you used was to beehives and honey, telling us that we can be sweeter than honey. And you gave us pointers on how we can grow and develop as Toastmasters. So I thought that was a very good message for us all. You was confident. You used the story as the illustration. Good job. Very strong speaking. You have the fluctuation in your tone, which I think is good. Body language was there. And I think it was a message that can help us move forward, especially for those newcomers. It was uplifting. So now we have a way, or we have something to focus on to help us develop and be better Toastmasters. Thank you.
All right, now, one of our newest members will do her first time role as grammarian, Toastmaster Brittany Lee.
Thank you. For the grammarian report, the word acme was used a total of 8 times today. There were a few things that I noticed. Camille, your presentation was wonderful. It was the acme of our session today, being a new member and doing your icebreaker presentation. I noticed a few grammatical errors in your presentation. The visuals are very nice. There were some errors with the use of apostrophe and capitalization. Charlie, very beautiful storytelling. I really enjoyed your story. It was very entertaining, and it was very conversational. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. I enjoyed that. I just noticed there were some times where the tense of the word may not have been the right tense in that sentence. I know that when we're speaking conversationally, we can get very comfortable. So those were the only two things that really stuck out to me. Overall, everything was really good today.
Now we have our kind of report from another new member, Toastmaster Jerome.
Come on down. Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster. I was pretty impressed for a crowd like this. We only had 3, and the third one I almost dismissed it, except for distinguished Toastmaster said, count that. So I said, ding. That's why you didn't hear lots of dings. So I'm only going to talk about 2. May I have that permission? Good. I guess the were related to either a joyous moment or a tense moment. When Brittany came up here while she was trying to clear her throat, one came out. So I discounted it, but I did make a check mark. And our storyteller, I wish I started to turn on my YouTube on my phone, but I said no, might not be permitted. At the end, when you started smiling, I think you came off your guard, and that's when one came on. Otherwise, distinguished Toastmaster, beautiful crowd, great people. Thank you.
All right. Our beautiful timing was done by none other than one of our newest Toastmaster, Shauna Meadows.
Come on down. Thank you, John.
Tell us what time we started the meeting. Do you know what time we started the meeting?
We started the meeting on time at 12 o'clock, and as far as I could see, we followed this little thing on the side real well, so I'm thinking we must have did everything pretty well as far as the roles and the Toastmaster, grammarian, Toastmaster minute.
Okay. Now you just go down and say what time, how much time everybody took. Well, let's just do for the most part, just do the speakers and evaluators.
The first speaker, Camille Wilder Hairston, spoke for 4 minutes, 52 seconds, which is right within the time you're supposed to speak because the icebreaker is supposed to last 4 to 6 minutes. The second speaker, Charlie Simpson, spoke for 9 minutes and 6 seconds, which is, he was very good. You were on time. The only part that took you over a little was when you bought part 2 of the story, the remix. So you did very well. The third speaker, Adrian Duncan, spoke for 5 minutes, 55 seconds. And you were close to your time, which should have been 8 to 10 minutes. The table topics, Patricia Minor, you spoke for 1 minute and 18 seconds, which is good. You were right within the 1 to 2 minutes. Dr. Mikasa, you spoke for 1 minute and 28 seconds, which is good. You were right within the 1 to 2 minutes. And Lucy, you spoke for 1 minute and 21 seconds, which is right within the 1 to 2 minutes. The evaluators were Jana Jacobs. You spoke for 2 minutes and 8 seconds. I believe the evaluators were supposed to speak for 2 to 3 minutes, so you did good. The evaluator number 2, Dr. Mikasa, you spoke for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Evaluator number 3, Patricia Minor, you spoke for 1 minute and 28 seconds. And the grammarian, Brittany Lee, you spoke for 2 minutes. All counter, you spoke for 55 seconds.
Okay, and did you say that's my timer's report?
That is my timer's report.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. She did a good job for her first time. You know, doing timing is hard to do if you don't, when you're first learning how to do it. Now, these are my general evaluators' comments. As she said, we started the meeting on time. We had a few snacks, only a few. Ms. President, you don't necessarily need to start the meeting with going down the list on the agenda. The only time you need to do that is when we don't know if people are here. If the thing is missing, if the agenda is missing people signing up, that's the only time we need to go through the agenda. That wastes time if you go through the agenda when it doesn't. We don't need to do that. Okay? What else did I want to say? I'm glad to see all these people here today, because we've been having meetings with 5 people. So give yourselves a hand. That's one of the things I wanted to comment on. Other than that, I have nothing else to say. We had a good meeting today, and I'm glad to see all these new members here, because some of the new members haven't been coming, and we need to get more of the new members back in here. Since the agency's paid this money, you all need to take advantage of it. Okay? All right. Now, I want to turn the meeting over to our presiding officer, who will then install the 2 members who were not here for our installation services. Presiding officer?
Presiding officer does that?
No, I'm turning the meeting over to you so you can turn it over.
I'm used to sitting down watching everybody else. I need more training. All right, installing Jana Jacobs. Am I saying it correct? Jonah Jacobs. Jana. Toastmaster Jacobs. I got that right. Come on down. Vice President membership. Next we will have Patricia Toastmaster Minor. Come on down. She is a club officer. Secretary. Come on down. And we will have Adrian Duncan, who will do the installation. Come to the podium. DTM.
Thank you.
Duncan.
And I need your gavel. Is it still here in the floating? Okay.
Right here. Let me grab it for you.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Toastmasters, it's an honor and a privilege for me as a Director A, which is the Division A Director, to install these young people to help us, guide us, lead us, and direct us. Toastmasters is a group of individuals like us that are individuals. However, we are collectively to help each other. We work as a team. That's the most important part of what we do. With our emotions, with our feelings, with everything that we have within us as individuals. We are here today to install these individuals, and I'll give you their names in a moment. I want to be sure that they know that they are a team helping you as leaders. They are the leaders of this particular group of individuals at Arkansas Department of Health as health masters. The number one priority is for those individuals to fulfill their duties and obligations in terms of their office, which will help us, lead us, and guide us to a distinguished club program. That will be the 10 points that we need. If we will go ahead and turn in those points that we need, which these 2 individuals are the 2 most important, not the president and not the sergeant at arms, these 2 individuals are the ones that will keep all the records and the work that we have to do. So at this point, I'm going to give this to our secretary because she is the one that will keep all the records. Now I'll give her some information for those of you in this. Toastmaster Patricia Minor, would you take this gavel? Your responsibility as Secretary of the Arkansas Department of Health Masters is to keep track of accurate records of our Constitution, our Charter, our bylaws, all records that we have heretofore acquired. You are to help us, keep us on track as Secretary, turn in information specific for Toastmasters International, our division, our area, and the club. Most of all, keeping records of our executive committee, our board meetings, and club activities. One question. Will you, to the best of your ability, perform these activities in your name?
I will.
Good. Will you give her a big hand? Would you pass that gavel to our VPE, Donna Jacob? Donna.
Yes, sir.
Your duties as the VPE, most of you may know this is Vice President of Education. Would you allow us to help us? You're to keep us focused, keep track of who has spoken, who has given speeches, where they are in the system each month as requested by the club members. The most important part of you as a VPE is to help us see where we are, as Ms. Joyce has done before on a chart. The only major part is to make sure that we get information to TI, which is Toastmaster International, the division, the area, and most of all the club. As the VPE, will you help us stay on track to the very best of your ability? If you will answer this one question, will you fulfill these duties and obligations to the very best of your ability?
I will.
Good. Give her a big hand, everybody. As the Division A Director, I am telling you that this is your directors. Now, those of you in this audience, each one of you, would you please stand for one moment? Everyone, please, that can. Will you, as individuals in this club, participate being here as often as possible and be prepared to help these leaders to the best of your ability? If you will, say, I will.
I will.
You're obligated to help these two individuals help us become distinguished this next year, 2017, 2018, as Arkansas Health Department Toastmasters. Got it? Everybody, give yourself a big hand. Congratulations. You are now officially the officers of this club. Thank you, Donna, and thank you, Patricia. And Madam Toastmaster, thank you. Good job. Excellent. This is the best we've done so far, Madam Toastmaster. Miss Antoinette, Toastmaster Antoinette. Soon to be distinguished Toastmaster Antoinette. Come on down, Toastmaster Antoinette.
Here I am.
Good.
Thank
You're
you
good.
very much.
Good job. Thank you.
For the
Thank you.
installation.
Now, y'all may want to make some pictures. I would, and put them on Facebook or however y'all do that. That's up to y'all. But I would make the pictures with permission.
Thank you. The other business that we have is coming up July 20th. Thursday, July 20th, is going to be the club officers training out at Southwest Power Pool. The follow-up one will be on August, not a follow-up, the second time will be August 5th, and it's going to be at St. Vincent's on Saturday. Am I correct? It's the Southwest Power Pool, both of them. It's the area contest is going to start on, I'm so sorry. Please,
Let's wait.
wait until, okay, somebody help me with this announcement.
Which one?
What we'll do first is the club. It'll be the table topics, and the humorous speech contest will be in this either July or August, because it has to be done, or needs to be done by or before the first day of September for our contest for humorous speech and table topics. It needs to be done in this club before September.
Okay, all right. But we were talking about the first thing, what is most important, is to get the training for all of our club officers.
All members are welcome to. It will help you as you grow and as you develop to become an officer. It will help you to understand why the officers are doing what they're doing. On July the 20th, which is this Thursday at 6 p.m., we gather between 5 and 6 p.m., and then on August the 5th. And those announcements are the most important for our club officers and members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's it.
Good job, y'all.
The meeting is dismissed. Adjourned.
If you have questions, please let us know. Thank you. Any questions?
All right.
Excellent.
Y'all have all y'all presenters?